Hello? Can you hear me? Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Thank you for tuning in to Atomic Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Atomicon Rex, and let's just jump into it. So the topic of today is the supernatural case of Jeffrey Dahmer. It was a Netflix series. It's called Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story. Yeah, that's a mouthful. Made in 2022, created by Ryan Murphy, and acted out by Evan Peters. He's a pretty good actor. I like his stuff. So, what is the genre? I would place this in the horror, thriller, crime, docudrama. Really, it's just a crime docudrama. But there are definitely horror elements to it. Not supernatural horror, just horrific elements to it. What type of cinema is it? What kind of art is it? It's live action. It's pretty serious in tone. It's episodic. There's about 8 or 9 episodes to it. They're really well fleshed out. It's really good. Set design. All the effects are practical. I didn't notice any CGI or any green screen. I think they filmed on location, and I think everything was practical. What movie tropes did I notice in the film? It's definitely leaning towards the sympathetic villain. They're casting him off as a likable guy, like a guy that you could just have a conversation with at a bar. And he was probably really like that. He doesn't seem really, at least in the movie, like very awkward or hard to talk to. Like he seems very articulate and like a nice guy that you would like to have a beer with. And so he was probably like that in real life. And that's, how he was able to do the things that he did. So let's talk about the characters. So there's really only 3 characters that really stand out in the show, at least in my mind. Of course, you have Dahmer, who's the main character. You have his neighbor lady. She's the black lady. I don't really remember her name. But she's the one that was always complaining about the foul odor in the apartment building and always calling the cops on him. And it really kind of cycles between these 2 characters. Through his point of view and then her point of view and how they react to the revelation. Another character that really stung out was the gentleman who played his father. Like, my jeez, I thought it was pretty good, and my heart went out to him. I think that's kind of another fear that parents have. We really don't speak about a lot. There's nothing worse than having a child die. Like, I can't imagine that. But then also having a child growing up to be a serial killer. I think that's pretty devastating too. Pretty bad. And you can see the effect that it has on not only the victims, but on Dahmer's family and how they're going to respond to a serial killer being part of their family. So, who was the damsel in distress? The damsel in distress in this show is going to go to a gentleman by the name of Tracy Edwards. He was the final escapee. He witnessed a lot of the personality change in Dahmer. It doesn't really depict it in the film. Okay, but as I was doing research, I had came across his testimony on the YouTube when they were going to court. And when Dahmer had him basically handcuffed, Dahmer had placed handcuffs on him. But only I had him on one hand. And had him like a knife to his side. And, like brought him into his bedroom and everything. And put this movie on called The Exorcist. Now, this is what I found really interesting. And this is why this movie became a cybernatural movie as a part to just a regular crime movie. He witnessed Dahmer watch this Exorcist movie. And as he was watching it, whenever the demon showed up in The Exorcist, Dahmer's personality changed. His personality became more aggressive, and that's when he noticed that Dahmer would want to put the other handcuffs on him and bind him and like put him on the ground and everything. So the victim would talk him out of it, would tell him, oh, you could trust me, you don't have to put the other handcuffs on, I'm not going to run away, I'm not going to leave you, and would calm Dahmer down. Now, Dahmer was transfixed by this movie. Okay? He would literally watch this movie and rock back and forth chanting while watching this movie. Okay? And as he was chanting watching this movie, this is what gave him the opportunity to grab something and hit Dahmer over the head and finally escape. Dahmer was in a trance every single time he watched this movie. So my argument that I'm setting forth to you here is Dahmer just your average serial killer, which doesn't make sense when I'm saying that. How do you have an average serial killer? But is he just an individual killing people with no apparent motive? Okay? Or is he a victim of something cybernatural? Okay, something like The Ring. Okay, is he possessed by a death god through technopathy via videotape? Okay, is a demon possessing Dahmer, or some sort of spiritual entity possessing Dahmer through the videotape, like a curse? Now, there are other things that lead me to believe this. Okay, so as I was doing research, one of the cops who interrogated Dahmer says that I'm going to tell you guys everything. Like, I'm not going to lawyer up. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you everything because I want this to end myself. Okay, so he told the cop everything. He tells the cop this. He says, if you would have never showed up, if you would have showed up a week later, I would have had an altar built by the victim of my... I would have had an altar built from the bones of my victim. Like an actual altar to some sort of... they don't say God or like a demon or anything like that, but the fact that he was going to build an altar from the bones of his victims tells you something, that he's doing it for some reason and something is influencing him. At least that's my opinion. That's how I see, symptoms of possession. Symptoms of possession can include loss of control, behavior change, loss of awareness, change in tone of voice, change in appearance. All of these things can be aspects of possession, but possession is not a legal defense. So I'm sure he tried to tell the court that, hey, listen, I'm crazy, I'm hearing voices, like something is wrong with me. And the court is like, nope, that is not a legal defense. You can't say that spirits and demons are influencing you because you can't prove that. And that's our court system. That's just what our court system is. So I cannot reasonably believe that a person who kidnaps people, chops them up, eats them in their house, and leaves their dead corpse remains laying around, dissolving in vats of acid in your apartment. You're not going to tell me that person's not crazy. Okay, but that's just me. So, I think I've had enough of a rant about that. What is the cultural impact of the movie? There's going to be a lot of reinterest in the Dahmer case. There's going to be a lot of reinterest in serial killers in general. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Halloween costumes and just a lot of weird cultist-like things going around this guy. It's a pretty good show. And people are going to be fascinated by, serial killers and what makes them tick. So, I must say it piqued my interest. I started doing research on the Dahmer case. I wouldn't have done a movie review on this one because I just think crime dramas just don't have enough narrative backbone. But when I came across that testimony on the YouTube, it elevated the Dahmer case to a crime drama to a supernatural drama, at least in my case. Okay, I think that's all the notes I have here. So, do I recommend it? I do recommend it. Atomic Rex does recommend it. It's on streaming. It's on Netflix. It's a series, so it's gonna take a day or two to get through. I didn't watch every episode. I will admit that. I kind of just watched the first episode, and then I jumped to the sixth and eighth episode because I just kind of wanted to get through it. I didn't really get interesting to me until I started doing research. So, apart from that, enjoy the movie, enjoy the show. Thank you for tuning in. Atomic Rex out. Bye bye.